Oh man, look at that. Raptor. Hello everyone, back live here on Talk Talk Live. We are back. Yeah, something that took me a bit aside there for a second there. Oh shoot, I gotta turn on my power, gotta turn on my microphone. Always the way, always the way. Can't see it. And let me make sure. Yes, the mic is back on and popping. So tonight, I thought I'd have a quick one. I saw something from, this Philly. Let's start from the beginning. What makes a man these days? Well, the demands on men these days are now more than ever. You have to be able to earn. You have to be able to provide for family and for your wife and siblings. You have to make sure that you are a protector as well. You must be able to protect your family when necessary, and also be the logical one, the thinker, the one that solidifies a family overall. And yes, so you have to be as they say, a protector, provider, and prophet. So I thought that I would dig in deeper into what makes a man these days, because again, a lot of men have been written off lately these days, and it's a shame. It's a shame because there are so many men out there who deserve attention, who deserve respect, who deserve a woman and a family's regard and a family's attention if they are protectors and providers themselves. Again, not all men are protectors and providers, but to those that are, they need to be respected. And so much these days, men are taken for granted, and we need to change that. But what I want to go into tonight, right now, is what makes a man a man. What makes him that protector? What makes him that provider? What makes him that prophet? And what is the downfall of these men if they aren't these things at the end of the day? And again, thank you for joining me on Talk Talk Live, live on IG and YouTube, sponsored by Duntalk, DUNTALK.com. I'm just looking over to see how my Raptors are doing at the moment. Yes, it's taking my focus away just a little bit. Look, New Orleans is making a little bit of a comeback, but they are a good team, let's face facts. But again, back to it. Back to Talk Talk Live, live on IG and YouTube. We're gonna make what makes a man, and then we're gonna, we have a few feature shows where we're going to try and get a few people involved and press a few buttons, as they say. We're going to press a few buttons. That's what we're going to do, as I am apt to do. So again, let us dive into it. Yes, we are going to go into this. Yes, we'll go back to the browser right now. We're going to go into this show by Teeth Sleeveless at Voices in Power, September 2022. Shout out to Poor Man's Podcast, who gave me the impetus for this show. And I wanted just to listen to this gentleman in long form as to what makes a man and the perils of those who who cannot, repeat, cannot make the grade as a man, and what lies in store for them, because there are no safety nets for men. Let's face facts. If you cannot protect, if you cannot provide for yourself and for others, the streets are calling. Which is different from a woman, where there are groups, there are safety nets available to women for the most part, even though right now it is a case where those safety nets are going fewer and far between. Oh, the Raptors scored. Big points there. Nice to GTJ for scoring them points. Anyway, so we're going to get into this right now on Talk Talk Live. Thank you for joining me. And let's go. T Sleeveless at the Voice of Power spoken word conference in Philly in September 2022. And it really breaks down what makes a man, and what perils lie out there for men, both psychologically, both physically, both psychologically and physically. So let's go. Oh, there we go.
Wrote a piece for the men. You know, as a man myself, you know, I was subjected to a lot of like emotional brutality just growing up, and the hardest realization I came to is that nobody really gives a shit. So,
Yeah, nobody really does give a darn about men's emotional difficulties. We have to man up. We have to face. We have to face realities. We have to know that life is hard, and if we can't make something out of this life, then life treats us very, very harshly indeed, both physically and emotionally, and psychologically. So again, yeah, it's the life of a man. But you know, the fair sex don't realize that, nor do they care, because life is pretty much centered on them for the most part until they get of older age, and then the tables turn if you can provide. So yes, I'm gonna let before I start this, I want to let you know we're gonna listen to it in long form. We're gonna hear it all at once, and then we're gonna break it down in piece by piece, and talk about what he had to say. So I'll let T Sleeveless continue.
um, this is just a piece for the men. This is called "Teach a Boy to Cry." People think the deconstruction of a man is some loud, violent occurrence, this outpour of bitterness towards the world, and in reality, the deconstruction of a man is a silent film, a common surgical procedure that the world didn't know it was trained to do. The breaking of a boy is the world's quietest natural disaster. As a man, there is no such thing as being stuck between a rock and a hard place. You either use the stones at rock bottom to build a way out, or you get buried by them. Ain't nobody coming to save you. The entire world is trying to construct you into its perfect little image, and the people around you are the ones who fuel the process of your manufactured masculinity. Some of us are going to make it through assembly, but we need to watch out for our defective counterparts, because the whole world is going to use their flaws to define all of us. Luckily, most defective product is aware of its own shortcomings and tends to destroy itself given enough time alone with its imperfections. This abridged explanation of the process is how you become a man or a monster. Everybody knows what a monster does. Everybody judges the monster. Nobody questions its creator. Some of us are manufactured to make light of our peril, with jokes, if you will. Male comedians are magicians in this way, how they take their pain and airbrush it into something laughable. He ha ha, joke about a failed suicide. The crowd laughs, the curtains close, the comedian drinks all the way home. A man's tears are just funny that way. How they have to be translated to be accepted, how they have to be transcribed into an art form to be worthy of observation, how you have to bleed artistically to become a worthy topic of conversation. Funny how we can joke about a man's misery, but nobody taught the boy to cry. But they taught him how to fight. Nobody tucked him in at night so he doesn't sleep at night. Nobody offers protection to the protectors. Nobody provides the providers with provisions. Nobody looks after the overseer. Nobody has ever tried to guide the man who steers. Everybody judges the weak men. Nobody checks on the strong ones. Only other men know how subtle a difference before the transition. Nobody taught the boy to cry, so he would do it at all the wrong times. In the barber chair, getting caskets sharp, remembering the funeral of a failed relationship. In the grocery aisle, breaking down because he's weighed down by the tears collecting in his baggage at a soccer game, remembering what it was like to be a boy running towards a goal. Most men, most men will only experience unconditional love from their mothers, and some of us don't even get that. Most of us have never even felt appreciation or respect without conditions or hidden intentions. We don't know what it sounds like to hear, I see you, and I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're here. You really make a difference, yet the expectation is to constantly be displaying the strength and love that the world is hesitant in conveying. We're expected to have a thick skin but get judged if it turns to a hard shell. The first step in being a man is ignoring the hunger. Cause yes, boy, you're gonna be starving. Starved of attention, starved of affirmation, starved of love, starved of being told that you are enough. Step two in being a man is comfortability with replaceability. You are only as good as you are useful. You are only as valuable as you are needed by others. Should there ever come a day, boy, where you fail to provide everybody with a smiling face, then do not be surprised when they say all men do is take up space. and you are swiftly replaced. Step 3 in being a man is overcoming your fear of the fire, because almost everything you will ever try to build will go up in flames. Relationships, careers, hobbies, and yes, you are always to blame. Step 4 in being a man is understanding by the time you finally get all the right answers, these questions will have already changed. You might achieve the strength of Herculean fiction, trying to balance the weight of all these contradictions. Be a man, they say. Definition unknown. Description keep changing. We men, so empty, so irritable, so this, so that. We get told where we are so much we've accepted that who we are ain't even up to us. The blame is always on us regardless. One guilty man's actions requires an innocent man's explanation. Otherwise, you're all guilty by gender association. There are 4 times as many male suicidal ideation because it's been hammered in our head that we're falling short of our societal expectations. Imagine being in a world of hurt for 100 different reasons during a nationwide emasculation season. There is a unique brand of sadness that follows being hated without reason. It ain't no secret, while over 30% of us have attempted to stop breathing. Nobody even mentions the men who have succeeded. As the saying goes, every failure is one step closer to a successful attempt. There is no such thing as an attempted suicide. A man's soul dies long before his body has a chance to realize. A man with an old soul is just a boy who contemplated going ghost. For every woman that suffers the same fate, 4 men will follow her to the grave. And I try to hide the stats from the poet because he might romanticize them. He might mistake this tragedy for a love story. He might write a poem in place for the suicide notes that were never left behind because nobody taught him otherwise. So who's going to teach these boys to cry while they're still alive? A man with nothing to lose will view everything as something to take. A child that isn't embraced by the village will burn the village down. And he will stare as everything that didn't love him back contorts and cracks. He will ease his way into the fire until he finally feels some warmth.
That was brilliant. That was literally brilliant. That was T Sleeveless and his rendition of "What Makes a Man a Man." We're gonna go back. We're gonna rewind that. We're gonna wind that back. We're gonna play it again because that deserves to be said. It breaks down, basically the tragedy of men and what indeed it takes for a man to be a man, and the perils one faces when you can't. When you literally can't measure up, when you literally can't protect and provide and be a if you can't protect, you can't provide, and be that prophet, then there are repercussions for that. And usually you're seen as disposable, you're seen as dispensable, and quite simply, there is no need in society for you. Quite simply, either produce or you're literally thrown to the wolves. And wow, okay, fair enough. So again, it is a horrible fate for men who cannot bring wealth to themselves and bring utility to the world, and it is quite simply terrible. Oh, they having roti. Thank goodness. Well, anyways, yes. Let me focus. So it is a terrible space for men to be in, but a lot of women don't understand that because a lot of women unfortunately only see their needs. There are a few that do indeed look out for men and are empathetic to their needs, but at the end of the day, if a man can't protect and provide them, then they have no use for them, quite simply. And at the end of the day, they're seen as disposable, dispensable, and once they commit the crimes they do and are seen as menaces to society, then they face the wrath of said choices that they have made, and the negative ones at that. And it is quite sad that society doesn't recognize that. But again, it is par for the course of being a man, unfortunately. So we're gonna break this down as we go along and just get into what indeed what indeed what perils face a man who cannot be men, who cannot be protectors and providers themselves.
This is just a piece for the men. This is called Teach a Boy to Cry. People think the deconstruction of a man is some loud, violent occurrence, this outpour of bitterness towards the world, and in reality, the deconstruction of a man is a silent film, a common surgical procedure that the world didn't know it was trained to do. The breaking of a boy is the world's quietest natural disaster. As a man, there is no such thing as being stuck between a rock and a hard place. You either use the stones at rock bottom to build a way out, or you get buried by them. Ain't nobody come.
There it is. Let's talk about what he first had to say there. Quite simply, a man has to make a name for himself. A man has to make a mark for himself in the world. And if he doesn't, well, then he's seen as then he could be, as he said, be buried by the rocks that are laid around him. Again, he's, certain men have certain advantages if they're born into certain families of privilege. However, to those who aren't, that man is severely disadvantaged to a point where if you can't measure up, then you are left by the wayside and seen as as roadkill. Quite simply, let's call a spade. It's a man is not a man with any sort of mental issues. A man with any sort of who cannot produce in this world are severely punished for it. They are severely punished for it. Women are punished to a certain extent, but not to the extent men are. There's no doubt about that. Women are protected and provided for at the end of the day, even if they can, they have this. Again, they're born with value, so it is up to a man to make a name for himself or to be to be considered useless by society and by their families and by the fair sex, unfortunately. And it is a shame, and it is something that goes under the radar. However, even though people say it's a man's world, but heavy is the head that wears the crown, and that crown is only for a chosen few, and for the crown is for the few that can provide. And if you cannot, and modern women have told this, if you cannot provide, then why are you dating me? Why? What utility do you have for me? If you cannot be 6 feet tall, if you cannot have a six pack, if you cannot have six figures, if you cannot be 6 inches or more, then what good are you for me? So again, it's a definitely a deadly slippery slope that men have to deal with on a daily basis. Let's continue.
Coming to save you. The entire world is trying to construct you into its perfect little image, and the people around you are the ones who fuel the process of your manufactured masculinity. Some of us are going to make it through assembly, but we need to watch out for our defective counterparts because the whole world is going to use their flaws to define all of us. Luckily, most defective product is aware of its own shortcomings and tends to destroy itself given enough time alone with its imperfections. This abridged explanation of the process.
Again, very powerful words. Very, very powerful words. In and of itself, it says this: men are constructed via whatever family privilege or non-privilege that they have, whatever victories and setbacks that they achieve or not achieve. And quite simply, if you cannot measure up and you see your deficiencies, you will be left alone. And in that loneliness, men usually are men who are left to their own devices usually end their own lives, or take it out on society in and of itself. I see Alex Manasseh as being one of these individuals, a man who drove down Yonge Street in Toronto here those many years ago. He was not see as a Chad, a Tyrone, or a man that is desirable by women. So therefore, he was left to his own devices and he decided to take it out on society. But for the most part, men usually end their own lives. And as will be pointed out later on, suicide rates of men far and above, far, far, far and above, are greater than those that of women. But it is the silent killer. It goes unreported, and because again, society cares about the feelings of women rather than the feelings of men. Just saying. Let's go.
This is how you become a man or a monster. Everybody knows what a monster does. Everybody judges the monster. Nobody questions its creator. Some of us are manufactured to make light of our peril, with jokes, if you will. Male comedians are magicians in this way, how they take their pain and airbrush it into something laughable. Hee ha ha, joke about a failed suicide. The crowd laughs, the curtains close, the comedian drinks all the way home. A man's tears are just funny that way. How they have to be translated to be accepted, how they have to be transcribed into an art form to be worthy of observation, how you have to bleed artistically to become a worthy topic of conversation. Funny how we can joke about a man's misery, but nobody taught the boy to cry, but they taught him how to fight. Nobody tucked him in at night so he doesn't sleep at night. Nobody offers protection to the protectors. Nobody provides the providers with provisions. Nobody.
Again, let me stop it there. Again, he's absolutely correct. The best comedians, the greatest comedians, are those who we allow ourselves to laugh at their pain. Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, Lenny Bruce. Again, most of these gentlemen were tortured souls, and because of that torture, we seem to gain a sense of entertainment out of it. But again, this is real pain. It's not as if it's and for that these people are well compensated. But it's funny how men have to go through pain in order to to taste the sweet, as they say. And it's only through letting releasing your pain into the public, making it visible for all to see that people care. People don't invite themselves and ask about one's pain. I mean, I have men in pain, all around me, and I have to literally go out and ask them if they are indeed okay. And men have to check in on themselves. That's one thing that we all of us men can do. Let me just move the camera here for a second. That is one thing all of us men can do, is that we can ask each other how we're doing, because it's important. Because if we don't ask about each other, unless there's a woman in a person's life, which those who are unsuccessful don't have, then quite simply we're left to our own devices. We're left to our own psychological issues, and if that's the case, then usually there can be the case where men end their own lives because they don't see themselves as valuable to society and to their family and friends at large. So it's important that not only do we recognize a man's silent pain, but also recognize the fact that a man's pain is can be used against him. It can be a power, but it can be much more than that. It's only the chosen few who can use their pain as power. The only the chosen few who can profit from pain. And if not, and for the most part, men who cannot protect, provide, and be a profit to society at large, then they're left twisting in the wind in their own misery, and it's a lonely road. It's a very, very lonely road, a dark road that could lead to the ending of their own lives. And it is sad that we us men don't have voices out there for ourselves in many instances, and we have to cry out or act out for people to hear it. But even so, people society tells us to man up. That's the usual saying. They ask a man to man up. Meaning, yes, there you have troubles in life, but you gotta sit there and take it. You gotta deal with it. A lot of men can't. Let me repeat that. A lot of men can't deal what with how society treats them and takes them, and uh, it is it is up to us ourselves to raise ourselves by our own bootstraps. Because again, nobody's coming to help us unless you are in a family of privilege. Nobody's coming to help us, and even then, it is the burden of being in such a family and living up to another person's legacy. It is a heavy burden to have, and but again, society doesn't come to help men. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Let's continue.
It looks after the overseer. Nobody has ever tried to guide the man who steers. Everybody judges the weak men. Nobody checks on the strong ones. Only other men know how subtle a difference before the transition. Nobody taught the boy to cry, so he would do it at all the wrong times. In the barber chair, getting caskets sharp, remembering the funeral of a failed relationship. In the grocery aisle, breaking down because he's weighed down by the tears collecting in his baggage at a soccer game, remembering what it was like to be a boy running towards a goal. Most men, most men will only experience unconditional love from their mothers, and some of us don't even get that. Most of us have never even felt appreciation or respect without conditions or hidden intentions. We don't know what it sounds like to hear, I see you, and I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're here. You really make a difference, yet the expectation is to constantly be displaying the strength and love that the world is hesitant in conveying. We're expected to have a thick skin but get judged if it turns to a hard shell. The first step in being a man is...
Before we go into those steps of being a man, before we go into those steps of being a man, he is so absolutely true about a certain few things. Let's talk about that unconditional love. The only unconditional love a man receives from a woman is from his mother. At times he can get unconditional love from... Oh, no. The only unconditional love he can get is from his mother, quite simply. The only way he can get unconditional love from a female is if he can protect from another female, is if he can protect and provide for her. Let it be said. The only way a man can get unconditional love is from his own mother, from a woman, from his own mother. After that, every woman who loves a man unconditionally usually is because of the way he can protect and provide for her. It's on a conditional basis. Yeah, it's on a conditional basis, and quite simply, men have to grow with that idea. We have to understand that when we get out into the world and fend for ourselves. We do. Men who are unemployed, they don't get love from ladies. They don't. As they say, there's as the old song goes, nothing going on but the rent. You got to have job if you want to be with me. So therefore, my love is conditional on your protection and provision for me, which is today one of the biggest rivals, because we have modern women who provide less than any woman in history. Any woman in history, but men have to swallow that and move forward if they want to have a companion in life. We have to have a very discerning character in order for us to before we make one of the biggest mistakes in our lives, before we make one of the biggest choices in our lives, and that is the choices of our woman. And it is a shame that there is a high cost for one's choices in a wife, for one's choices in a woman, in a long-term partner. But those are the issues that one man has to deal with. And even so, even if we do make a choice, women have the choice to leave that relationship and at the end of the day take the fortune of a man who's worked 20 or 30 years of his life. And that adds into the fact that, in terms of high suicide rates, and in terms of, men who literally suffer through great amounts of depression, psychological depression over time, because, what they've worked so hard for is now gone. So, again, when you hear from T Sleeveless here, he's literally telling you that men automatically suffer from many strikes against them in this life, and only and have to overcome many a hurdle in life in order to have value in this life. And it is an absolute, well, it is what it is. It is what it is, right? So it is the ultimate sink or swim in society. I mean, I see it akin to the animal kingdom, quite simply, where either you do or you die. That's a man's life. A woman's life is much different than that. Much different than that. Either she can do, but there is a safety net available for them, and that is a man. A man knows if he doesn't protect and provide, it's over for him. And again, it goes back to the fact, and you know, any love that he receives from femalehood or from society in and of itself is conditional on how valuable you are to that society instead of you being you. And things aren't positively reinforced at the end of the day. We indeed aren't given positive reinforcement on a daily basis that you matter, that we care for you, that we love you unconditionally. There's only one person who does that at the end of the day. Maybe one's children, but at the end of the day, it's their mother. Other than that, it's about what you can produce. And, it is a shame. It is an utter shame that this is not brought to the attention of society, but men have to live with this on a daily basis. They do. They just have to, understand that this is the requirements of a man. This is the requirements of manhood, and with that in mind, we have to be, as then as focused as possible in order to not become a statistic. And we have to bear the fact that all this will go unheralded. It will, the fact that we put a roof over one's head, you know, isn't isn't given recognition in kind. It's considered it's treated as a given. It's treated as as par for the course, quite simply. And that's why I say, when Mother's Day is more celebrated than Father's Day, when you have Valentine's Day that just passed as a women's holiday, um, and men aren't given the respect and recognition for their services as well, and women don't understand why men aren't recognized for their values, and they are ridiculed for the choices that they make in women. It's a shame. It's the highest form of irony that we provide so much for this world, and yet at the end of the day aren't recognized for it. But let's go into what makes a man, and see what he has to say. Thank you for joining me on Talk Talk Live on IG and YouTube. I'm going to rewind it a little bit here so we can have a proper start, and let's go.
Turns to a hard shell. The first step in being a man is ignoring the hunger. Because yes, boy, you're going to be starving. Starved of attention, starved of affirmation, starved of love, starved of being told that you are enough. Step 2 in being a man is...
Stop. Yes, men are left starving in society at the end of the day. Yes, we are. We are. Even though there's little of us, there are less men than women. Even though it is a man's world, at the end of the day, you won't be recognized as such, especially in the developed world. Especially in the developed world. There's more of a gynocracy going on here, where women's accomplishments are more recognized than men's accomplishments. Even though we built the world in which everybody can live in a relative amount of comfort. And we men are indeed starved of that recognition. There's only one day in which men are recognized for their service, and that is potentially potentially Veterans Day, because men make up most of the military that protects society in and of itself. But Father's Day, but even then, that is seen as a passing thing. Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, is much more recognized, and those are seen as women's holidays. Not to hate women, we love women. Let's face facts, but a lot of men aren't recognized for the services they provide society, and it's a shame. And men are, and it's the littlest thing. And it's not me belly aching at this, but it's the littlest thing that makes a huge difference to men. That's why I always thank my dad for who he is, because quite simply, he could have done anything, but he stuck around and he stuck it out. And that's why I would tend to celebrate Father's Day more than Mother's Day, because simply put, he has no other day in which to celebrate him. And he goes, and it's a thankless job that he has, and I recognize it every time I see him. So if you have a father in your life, if you have a husband in your life, thank him for what he's done for you. Thank him for providing the life that you live now, if you are in said relationship, or if you are married indeed married, because men take it upon themselves to protect and provide. That is part of the game. Not only is our money for ourselves, but it is for the lady in our life, the person in our life, and any offspring thereafter. Women hate paying bills. Let's face facts. Women hate responsibility. They'd rather have a man have that responsibility. And we take it on gladly. Why? Because that's what society expects. So when a man does well at it, recognize him for it. But again, society really doesn't recognize him for the most part. They see it as par for the course. They see it as part of daily life. And it's a shame. Let's continue.
It's comfortability with replaceability. You are only as good as you are useful. You are only as valuable as you are needed by others. Should there ever come a day, boy, where you fail to provide everybody with a smiling face, then do not be surprised when they say all men do is take up space, and you are swiftly replaced. Step 3 in being a man is...
Stop. Step 2 in being a man. Either you protect or provide, or you're out there. You're out of there. Women have made that abundantly clear, especially modern women. They have made that abundantly clear. Not only that, modern women won't do what it takes to keep a man the way they used to. They don't. They won't cook. They won't clean. They won't make a man a sandwich. They won't. Not these days. And they consider it surprising when these women are left on the shelves. But again, this is about men these days. This is about men. This is what it takes to be a man these days. If we cannot protect and provide, it's a problem to most men. That's why if you can't protect, if you can't provide, if you can't make a living for yourself, guess what? You're on the street. Men know that. Men know that that is the ledge. There is no safety net. Unless you're from a family of privilege, and even then, that is only a certain only a chosen few. So we have to get comfortable, as he said, with being uncomfortable. Knowing that everything you've earned in life can easily be taken away, either by your job, by the state, or by your ex. It can be taken away. And if you cannot protect and if you cannot protect and provide and put smiles, as he said, on people's faces, look out. Look out. You are yesterday's news. You are recyclable, and someone else can step in your place. Especially to women of beauty and high value women. There it is. So, men are taken for granted at the end of the day. And it's a shame. Let's continue.
Is overcoming your fear of the fire, because almost everything you will ever try to build will go up in flames. Relationships, careers, hobbies, and yes, you are always to blame. Step 4 in being a man is understanding by the time you finally get all the right answers.
Step 3, yes, everything will be up in flame. Let me rewind this back for a second. If you cannot make the grade, if you cannot sustain what you've built, it will go away. It will go away. It will be forgotten. And society will not recognize that fact. That is the burden of being a man. That whatever you built in your life can easily be taken away at a moment's notice. And that's why you have to fight tooth and nail. That's why men are so competitive, because they realize that without that competitive nature, there is no success. And without success, men are told when they are failures. Society lets men know when they are failures in life. Quite simply. Women have many different ways to be successful. Either be successful at home or on the or in the workspace. But there are variable ways women can be successful. Men have to protect and provide, bar none. Sad but true. Regardless of how it affects us psychologically or physically. Job's got to get done. That's why you find a lot of men dying early, because men protect and provide for their families. Men defend the world from tyranny. Men create the comfortable society in which you live. And it really irks modern men when women say they don't need men. All that, here's the thing, everything, and I repeat, everything in life that you consider creature comforts were provided by men, for the most part. I say 95 to 99% of it. We're man-made. That's why we call it man-made. And if men don't make, men are forsaken. Men are forsaken. And for women to turn around and say they don't need men is an absolute insult. It's an absolute insult. Because the life in which, the place, the domiciles in which women live were pretty much made by men. So, we put smiles on your faces, and yet we create a society in which you, sad but true, insult us. And that is an absolute shame. The society that men have built, the developed world in which society lives, women turn around and say, men, you are not needed. Huh? The society which men built, women say, well, you can only have one of us, even though you fought tooth and nail to get to the level of society that you want. Women have rewritten the rules for some reason, and we have to dance to that beat, unfortunately. Unless you come to a certain space of life where you don't need a woman's validation in order to consider yourself counted. And usually by that time, you have a choice of women, if not many women. But that's only for the chosen few. A normal guy is left out of that category. But again, it's all about if a man can protect and provide. So, let's continue.
Blame. Step 4 in being a man is understanding by the time you finally get all the right answers, these questions will have already changed. You might achieve the strength of Herculean fiction, trying to balance the weight of all these contradictions. Be a man, they say. Definition unknown. Description keep changing. We men, so empty, so irritable, so this, so that. We get told what we are so much we've accepted that who we are ain't even up to us. The blame is always on us regardless. One guilty man's actions requires an innocent man's explanation. Otherwise, you're all guilty by gender association. There are 4 times as many male suicidal ideation because it's been hammered in our head that we're falling short of our societal expectations. Imagine.
That's powerful. That is indeed very, very powerful. Men are on eggshells for the most part. Yes, they are on eggshells because we have to dance to everyone's beat. We have so many expectations on our lives that, quite simply, it's no wonder. It's a great wonder how men are able to succeed in this life. The weight of expectation is great. People expect us to be the best society can be. And quite simply, that is a heavy weight. It is a heavy weight that many men cannot measure up to. And so, as he says, men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. Because the weight of expectation is that great. And it's ever changing. What once was men can be sweet and bring flowers and be a gentleman. Today, those things have changed. You have to be toxic for women to like you. Women don't want flowers anymore. You can't be romantic to a woman. You can't be too romantic. Women want men to provide, but not too much. They want equal share of the bargain if men provide all basic needs. It is a balancing act that is near nigh impossible to navigate. It's like walking across Niagara Falls on a tightrope. The perils are great, but the reward is also. But many men don't make it across. Many men can't cross that perilous space to success. But those men are forgotten. Those men are literally forgotten. And it's a damn near shame, but men have come to realize that. Men have come to expect that. And when we want to assert that, when we want to be ultra competitive, it's considered toxic. When we want to assert our manhood, it's considered misogynistic. Men don't know where they stand anymore. They don't. And there are so many degrees of men out there. What a man used to be was a protector, provider, prophet. Now you don't know what a man is anymore. Because the rules have changed. Men can be transvestites. Men can be in different types of relationships. Men can be what society wants them to be instead of what men decide them to be. We can't even rule on ourselves anymore. Other people define us. And that is the ultimate irony. That our definition is left at the hands of others. And when a man asserts his manhood like Andrew Tate, he's admonished. He is admonished. And he is and society has told us to silence our views on men, our traditional views on men, because it's seen as toxic. And any man who asserts a positive role model for men, that is literally shut down, because you can't have strong men anymore. They're being policed out of society. They want weaker men and stronger women. They want masculine men, but they don't want a traditional man. Do you see the balancing act we have to deal with here? Do you see the utter hopscotch? Do you see the utter ballet that we have to deal? The utter dance that we have to go through here in order to succeed? Only for only for others to view us as bad men for asserting ourselves traditionally, asserting ourselves in the way society has taught us for many centuries. It's the ultimate in high ridiculousness. It can be seen as a sham, but men must go on, despite society's different takes on us and wanting to change us and redefining us. Well, men just want to be men. And if we are men, women can see us as toxic and narcissistic, even though women have more traits of narcissism. Just saying. Go to the BSD number 3, psychological traits of narcissism. You'll find most narcissistic traits are displayed by women. But narcissism is seen as a masculine way to live. What's a man to do these days, eh? Let's continue.
Being in a world of hurt for 100 different reasons during a nationwide emasculation season, there is a unique brand of sadness that follows being hated without reason. It ain't no secret, while over 30% of us have attempted to stop breathing, nobody even mentions the men who have succeeded. As the saying goes, every failure is one step closer to a successful attempt.
I don't think that statistic isn't brought up enough. 30% of men attempt suicide at some time in their lives. 30% of men, all men, have attempted suicide in their lifetime. But that's part of being a man, right? That is part of a man's story. The possibility of suicide. The possibility of being unrecognized. The possibility of seeing yourself as less than. The possibility of society deeming you as lost. And yes, society is trying to emasculate men. Make no doubt about that. I'm going to have future shows on male emasculation soon. No doubt about that. What was traditionally considered manhood is being changed by people outside of manhood. Being a man is now being a lady. Being a man is now being in different types of relationships. Being a man is now being less than a man in a woman's eyes. And men all over the world are saying, let me be well. What the fuck's going on? But men continue. Men try to go down the path of leading other men to a brighter day. But if your voice is too large and your megaphone's too loud, they'll try and silence you. As being seen in Romania right now. A man trying to be a man, but that man is too dangerous, right? You don't want a man to awaken other men. No, you don't want that. As I said, make men softer and women harder. That's the agenda these days. Make men docile. Make men shells of themselves. Do not try to awaken men. Make them protecting, providing shills to the public. Make them nothing but how useful they are to society. Be back with part 2 in a bit. We're just gonna shut this down for a moment. I gotta really stop this this idea here, anyways, and see if I can get a hold on this. But we'll be back to Talk Live in just a bit here. But we're gonna continue on YouTube in just a second. So hold on tight, and We'll be back soon. Let's go. We're back on Talk Talk Live here on YouTube, and now we're back on IG. Oh, sorry. 1 second. There we go. We're back on IG. I gotta get myself a new phone or something like that because this thing is canceling out at a moment's notice. So that will be done hopefully this weekend. So I do apologize for any technical difficulties on the Instagram side. But we're gonna continue on Instagram and YouTube right now. So thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're just describing what makes a man these days. And yes, let us continue.
There is no such thing as an attempted suicide. A man's soul dies long before his body has a chance to realize. A man with an old soul is just a boy who contemplated going ghost. For every woman that suffers the same fate, 4 men will follow her to the grave. And I try to hide the stats from the poet because he might romanticize them. He might mistake this tragedy for a love story. He might write a poem in place for the suicide notes that were never left behind because nobody taught him otherwise. So who's going to teach these boys to cry while they're still alive? A man with nothing to lose will view everything as something to take. A child that isn't embraced by the village will burn the village down. And he will stare as everything that didn't love him back contorts and cracks. He will ease his way into the fire until he finally feels some warmth.
That's the end of the prose from T Sleeveless. Well done to him. Again, I talk about Alex Manassi, and I talk about those many men out there who have gone on mass shootings. I talk about men who, instead of taking it out on others, have ended their own lives. And have not let suicide notes, have not let society know of what they've done. Many will go nameless and faceless. It's only those who exact any sort of revenge, any sort of retribution on society in and of itself, though it is wrong, those are the only ones who are recognized. When the silence becomes so deafening that society recognizes it and takes umbrage to it, when society could have stopped the sickness at source. They could have checked in on certain men. Let them know that they are recognized and loved. Let them know that they indeed care and they matter. Let them know that society sees how great they are. I bet you there wouldn't be so many suicides. I bet you there wouldn't be so many victims of their violence. Society needs to recognize men more. You need to recognize men more. Yes, you. You who are viewing this. And if you don't fit into, you need to recognize men who don't fit into the 6-pack, 6 figures, 6 feet tall, 6 inches or more, charismatic, confident, protector, provider prophets out there. Because those men can be better men with your help. But again, I know this will fall on deaf ears because society / women are so self-centered these days. Become more self-involved, the greater chance that those men, certain men, will take it out on the same society that admonishes them. I keep saying that the reason why there's many more mass shootings, the reason why there's so many more sexual assaults, the reason why there's so many more Alex Manassians in the world is because there's such a high bar for men, and men aren't seen as visible anymore. That a lot of men take it out in negative ways. It is up to us to recognize them. Because as he says, more fires will burn, more victims will come to pass, and men will finally feel the warmth of recognition from their misdeeds. However wrong it is. It is wrong. Let's face facts. It is wrong, but society created these men. Make no mistake about it. With shifting sands, the change evermore. And men either having to adapt or die. We indeed bear the brunt of society's lack of recognition. So all men can ask for is to recognize how important they are to society. If you have a man in your life, thank him for being there. Let them know they matter. Because for so many men, that is not the case. So many men are taken for granted these days. For their lack of recognition of being as good as any and better than any man. No matter what his pay grade is. Because remember, there are many men who go sexless in society. 1 out of 3 men have not had sex in a year. Or are virgins themselves. This is part of those who wish to burn society to the ground because they feel unloved. Women will always receive love in some way, shape, or form. Many men don't. And it has to be called out as is. So for all that men do, I know a lot of women, a lot of society is now waking up to this fact, but for so much of society, that is not the case. It isn't. I say the majority of society isn't the case. And so much of what men work for is taken away from them like that. And men's mental health isn't seen as a top priority. There's an inequality between men in and of itself, and it needs to be recognized at the very least. To be a protector, to be a provider, to be a prophet, it's a damn hard job, especially in a society in which men are seen as the worst among us. Where men are seen as useless. Men aren't needed. Although everything which makes life worth living, or pretty much everything, was created by them. Were created by men themselves. The platforms in which allow people to see men as liabilities were made by the men themselves. More recognition needs to be given to men. Seriously, they do. Yes, there are bad men out there. That goes without saying, but to those good ones, there are so many good ones that go unrecognized or are seen as perverts for helping a woman out in the gym. Such are the ironies, such are the perils men face every single day. All I'm saying is, to the men in your lives, just recognize them. Just say hello to them. Just tell them that you matter. These little things make a huge difference. Recognize that, and this will be the last thing I say. Recognize that with great power comes great responsibility. And that responsibility men wear every single day. Every day they go out that door to help their families, to make the world a better place, to protect the world from tyranny. Recognize that they are loved, they are wanted, they are needed, and they make this world a better place. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. I thought I'd do a short one today. And we are back on full cam here. Just a short one today. It's only over an hour today. But we'll be back on Sunday night. We're going to start pushing the envelope here. We're going to start really asking some tough questions and having people come on and tell their story. We're going to push a few buttons here. Time to push the envelope a bit. But before that date, I have the Diamond Bowl on Saturday. That should be a good time. To those in Toronto, they know that is the gala that is most recognized in the Black social calendar in the city. I look forward to seeing a lot of people who watch Talk Live there. And I look forward to your company in the weeks to come. But I hope you enjoy your weekend. I hope you dug out from all that snow that is arrived on your doorstep. Lord knows I did my little promo tonight, shoveling snow tonight. I do enjoy shoveling snow for some reason. I love the fitness of it all, and I don't usually. I usually hate using snowboards unless it's heavy snow, which I had to use today because there's a lot of heavy snow around. Again, for the light stuff, these using my elbow grease in order to get things underway. But again, I hope you've dug out of the snow. I wish you all a great weekend. We'll see you on Sunday night on Talk Talk Live. And yeah, with more changes to come, more bigger and better things to come as well. So thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live, live on IG and YouTube. We'll be back Sunday night at 8, 9 p.m. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me. But we're going to be pushing the envelope going forward. And shorts are coming. Shorts are coming to a point near you. And yeah, looking forward to that. So thank you for joining me on Talk Talk Live, live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers and more coming soon. Thank you very much, and good night from Toronto. And to my YouTube viewers, thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live, live on IG and YouTube. More changes to come. Yes, indeed. And yeah, we got to get a new camera here. Even I got to say that. But I hope you were able to see me and enjoy tonight's telecast. A little different thing, what makes men men. And yeah, we look forward to your company this weekend. But I hope you have a good weekend, whatever you do. And yeah, take care of yourself, stay safe, and